My beloved child, today you have paused before these words, not by accident. Perhaps your heart has grown weary of the old place, of the rooms of memory still carrying the scent of tears, of the days when you came back and did not know where to lay your heart. And so, when you hear the words, "I am giving you a new home tomorrow," do not be too quick to think only of a house with a tiled roof, freshly painted walls, and a key resting in the palm of your hand. Open this word with peace, because the home I speak of first is a place where your soul can breathe, a place where you no longer tremble before words that wound you, a place where you can lift your eyes and remember that you are still loved. There are things you have waited for too long. Nights when you whispered, "Lord, when will my life finally have a quiet place?" I have heard you. I have not missed a single sigh from you, nor have I taken lightly any tear you hid beneath your pillow. The tomorrow I speak of may begin with the nearest morning, with one small decision, with a door inside your heart being opened. Stay with me, for I am leading you back home. A true home is not built only with cement, wood, and solid walls. Some people live in spacious houses while their hearts still wander. Some lie on soft beds while their minds have no shelter, and some have only a small room. Yet every evening they feel covered by peace. I know you need a better place to live, a roof over your parents, a study corner for your children. But before I place into your hands what your eyes can see, I often rebuild what your eyes have never seen. The foundation of trust, the walls of gratitude, the door of forgiveness, the lamp of hope. When Jesus said, "In my Father's house are many rooms," those words did not only open a hope for eternity, they gently remind you that in my love there is always a place reserved for you. You are not someone forgotten in the rushing crowd. You do not need to fight for the right to be loved. You have a place that no one can snatch from, my hand. And yet, to step into the new home, sometimes you must look back at the old house within your heart. Perhaps it is the place where you once heard cold words, where your childhood lacked an embrace, where you learned to be silent because you were afraid, where every failure made you believe you were not good enough. You carried those bricks through many years, building around yourself a fortress so no one could touch your wounds. I understand why you protected yourself, but today I come not to destroy you, but to remove the rotting boards, to open the window that has not welcomed sunlight for so long, to clean the rooms you locked away because of pain. Behold, I am making all things new. The word in the book of Revelation is not a distant voice for some vague day. It is the word I sow into your very life when you allow me to touch what you are still afraid to look at. The new home begins when you stop calling your wound your destiny, and stop using the past to measure the limits of tomorrow. Sometimes you think I am delaying, because your life does not seem to have changed. You pray for a door, but before your eyes, you see only repeated days. You ask for a way, but I tell you to wait. You want to move into a brighter place, but it seems as though I am leaving you, seated in the cramped room of the present. My beloved child, a wise builder does not raise the roof before laying the foundation. A gardener does not demand flowers to bloom on the very night the seeds are planted. There are days when I am strengthening what is inside you, teaching you to distinguish what you want from what you need, teaching you to keep your heart pure when you do not yet have enough, teaching you not to sell your peace in exchange for something glittering. The book of Hebrews reminds you that faith is the assurance of what you hope for. Faith helps you stand in hardship and still believe that I am at work. Therefore, the new home may begin right within your body. Perhaps you have treated your body like a machine that must keep running, forgetting that it needs rest, clean water, a decent meal, slow steps beneath the sky, and even forgiveness because it is not as perfect as you wish it to be. I did not create you to live by exhaustion. I do not want you to call harming yourself trying hard. But my child, a home cannot be warm if the lamp inside has run out of oil. Return to the body I entrusted to you to care for. When you sleep, a little earlier, choose a healthier meal. Go for a checkup instead of silently enduring. And stop using harsh words to speak about your own shape. You are laying bricks for a new dwelling place of life. The Psalms say you are fearfully and wonderfully made, so do not look down on what I created with love. From a rested body, I lead you into the room of the mind. That place is sometimes messier than any other room. Old voices repeating that you will fail. Comparisons that make your life feel small. Dark predictions that frighten you before tomorrow even comes. You do not have to believe every thought that passes through your mind. Not every voice is truth. And not every fear is prophecy. When the mind becomes a house with no doorkeeper, despair will pull up a chair. Shame will hang its pictures on the wall, and then call it reality. Whenever a thought makes you lower your face, bring it into my light and ask, does this lead you toward love, truth, and peace? The Apostle Paul taught that you should be renewed in your mind. Renewal is not a miracle that makes you never feel sad again. It is learning not to hand over the rule of your life to sadness. Let my word open the windows of your soul, so the wind of hope may enter every dark corner. Perhaps when you hear of a new home, your heart immediately thinks of money, because you are tired of bills, debts, and months of counting every coin before buying what is necessary. I do not tell you to deny reality with a few comforting words. I invite you to step into wisdom. A new financial home often does not arrive as a rain of money from heaven, but through the courage to look honestly at the numbers. A small but truthful plan, a skill you are willing to learn, and integrity that refuses to sell the soul cheaply for quick gain. Seek first the kingdom of God and His righteousness is not a command to forget your responsibilities, but a word that restores the right order. Do not let money master you. Let wisdom and dignity guide the way you earn. Keep and share from those worries. I bring you back to the home of family. Perhaps your family is the most peaceful place for you, but it may also be the place that wounds you most deeply. Because wounds left by those close to us often hurt more than anything from strangers. There are relationships living under the same roof, yet separated by many years of silence. Do not despair, my child. I do not ask you to endure harm in the name of love, but I invite you to begin with one small brick, a softer word. A moment of listening without rushing to defend yourself. A boundary set in peace. An apology without excuses. When Joshua said, "As for me and my house, we will serve the Lord," it was a daily choice made by each heart in the home. You cannot control everyone, but you can let my peace begin with the words you speak and with the way you refuse to let bitterness pass down to the next generation. To those who are raising children, I know you worry more than you say. You fear that you are not enough for your children and that you cannot protect them from everything. But the most precious thing children need is not a room filled with possessions, but a place where they are seen with loving eyes, corrected without being humiliated, allowed to stumble while still knowing they have a place to return to. A new home for your children may simply be the moment you put down your phone to listen to their stories. The words, "I believe in you," when they are confused. The consistency between what you teach and how you live. When Samuel's mother offered her child to me, she did not hold the child inside her own fear. She placed him in the hands of the one who loved him more deeply than she ever could. Pray for your children, but also let that prayer take form in your gentleness, honesty, and patience. And if you are earning a living amid competition, pressure, and judging eyes, I want to tell you that work is not the place where you must lose your soul. But do not turn success into a prison with a golden door. Do not forget meals with your loved ones just to be recognized. And do not trade your conscience for a position. Some people stand at the top, yet every evening they still feel homeless in their souls because they no longer know who they are without titles and applause. I want to keep your heart free within your work. Even if today you do something small, even if no one calls your name, do it with faithfulness. Colossians reminds you that whatever you do it with all your heart. As working for the Lord, when you work with a pure heart, your hands may be doing ordinary tasks, but your soul is building a house that no storm can easily sweep away. When life outside becomes too noisy, I often draw you back to nature to remind you that the world is still being upheld. Look at the young leaves opening after the rain, the stream patiently finding its way through stones, the birds of the sky keeping no granary and yet still being fed. I do not say this so you will live irresponsibly. I say it so you will stop carrying the whole universe on your shoulders. There are things that belong to your part: sowing seeds, watering them, working, praying, and repairing. But there are also things that belong to my power, making the seed sprout, guiding the way when you cannot yet see the path, turning what seemed dead into a new season. Jesus once told you to consider the birds of the air, not so you would stop trying, but so you would stop thinking life is secured only by your ability to control everything. A new home may be the morning when you open the window, breathe deeply, and realize that you are still here, still given another day to begin again. Remember Abraham, the man who left the land he knew without fully knowing where he was going. He did not have a complete map, nor any guarantee that the road would be smooth. But he went because he trusted the one who called him to be faithful. Many times, you also stand before such a movement, leaving an unhealthy job, leaving a relationship that wears you down, leaving a city, leaving an old way of living, leaving a fear that has lived with you for far too long. What frightens you is not only that the future is unclear, what frightens you is that the past is so familiar. But what is familiar is not always good. There are doors I close not to leave you out in the cold, but so you will not continue calling the place that wounds you home. And look at Ruth, the woman who stepped out of a chapter filled with loss. She quietly gathered the leftover grain, not knowing that those small steps were leading her into a new chapter. Do not despise the small thing today: a phone call, an application, an apology, a lesson, an amount you save. I often lead you to great things through quiet footsteps. There are times when the new home is not the place you go to, but the person you become. Elijah once hid under a broom tree, exhausted to the point of wanting to give up. I did not scold him for being weak. I let him sleep, sent an angel to bring bread and water, and told him to eat because the journey was still too long for him. Before I gave Elijah a new journey, I cared for his exhaustion. Perhaps you think you need a very great miracle, while what I am giving you right now is healing sleep. A meal, a trustworthy person to speak with, one act of caring for your health, one day of rest. Do not call it ordinary. It may be the bread and water I send into your wilderness. And when the feeling of unworthiness pulls you back, remember the prodigal son who returned with no achievements, only regret. The father ran out, embraced him, clothed him with a new robe, put a ring on his hand, and opened a feast of celebration. Grace does not call wrong right, but it does not allow the past to write the final sentence. When you return, I am not standing behind the door to question you coldly. I am standing at the threshold to welcome you. So when is tomorrow? My child, tomorrow is not necessarily the moment when every circumstance suddenly changes. When you receive the key to the house of your dreams, the money you have been waiting for, or the answer you have asked for, tomorrow may be the moment you wake up and no longer speak to yourself with cruelty. It may be when you call a loved one instead of continuing in silence. Open a notebook to face your finances. Schedule care for your health. Leave a door you know is no longer safe. Or say, Lord, I do not understand everything yet, but I am willing to walk with you. The Psalms remind you not to live forever in regret over yesterday or in trembling over the tomorrow that has not yet come. Receive the present day as the threshold I open. Before moving into what is new, you also need to clear your heart, lay down grudges, habits that pollute the soul, and conversations that only feed envy. Forgiveness does not call wrong right. It is handing the hammer of judgment to me so your heart may be free to build. I also want you to know that the new home is not a place where you live alone in pride. I created you for connection. Perhaps you need to step into a healthy community. Find someone mature in faith to walk beside you. Ask a trustworthy friend to listen, or seek professional support when the pain has become too heavy. Do not call asking for help a failure. In Ecclesiastes, it is written that two are better than one, because if one falls, the other can lift them up. I can send comfort through an honest conversation, through a prayer from someone you never expected. Learn to distinguish between solitude that helps you listen to me and isolation that lets fear swallow you. Therefore, when you hear the words, I am giving you a new home tomorrow, receive them as an invitation, not as an empty promise that material things must appear exactly when you have decided they should. I can make a way in the wilderness, give wisdom in lack, heal what is broken, and lead you to a good dwelling place when the time comes. But even before the physical door opens, I want to make a home within your heart. Tonight, whisper, Lord, teach me to recognize the new home you are building within me. And when dawn comes, you will step into the new day, not as one who is lost, but as a child who knows they are being led home. And when dawn touches the window frame of the new day ever so gently, you will understand that not every change arrives with thunder or with signs so great that people must lift their eyes to see them. There are miracles I place in your life as softly as dew upon the leaves, as quietly as the first birdsong of the morning, so small that, if your heart is too hurried, you may pass them by without noticing. Yet, from those very things that seem small, a new home is being built within you, not with promises that make you forget reality, not with dreams that make you flee from responsibility, but with a quiet strength that helps you face life without fear. For once your heart knows, it has not been abandoned. Even among old walls, you can begin to sense the fragrance of a new place. Your bed may still be there. Your room may not yet have changed. Your worries may not have completely disappeared. But your soul is different. And when the soul changes, your eyes will also see life with a different light. You will no longer see only what is lacking, but begin to see what remains. You will no longer remember only what has been lost, but recognize what I have still preserved for you through so many years. You will no longer only ask, why must I stay here, but gradually learn to ask, Lord, what do you want to teach me in this place? That very question will transform you from a wanderer in sorrow into someone who learns to hear my voice in every season of life. There are paths you do not understand, because they are far more winding than what you once prayed for. You asked me to lead you to a brighter place, yet you had to walk through a road covered in mist. You asked me to open a door, but before that door could open, I allowed you to stand for a long while before a closed threshold. You wanted to be lifted up, yet I taught you to bow down. You longed to see the way immediately, but I placed in your hand only a lamp bright enough to illumine a few steps ahead. Do not blame me because I did not draw the entire map into your hands. If you could see every stage of the journey from the very beginning, perhaps you would no longer learn how to trust. I know what happens when you look too far ahead. You become easily frightened by mountains you have not yet reached, easily exhausted by trials that have not yet come, easily tempted to give up because you think you cannot complete such a long road. That is why I only ask you to take one step today. One step in truth. One step in courage. One step away from what has wounded you. One step back toward what is good. One step closer to the person to whom you have not spoken words of love for a long time. One step to forgive. One step to pray. One step to care for yourself. You do not need to know all of tomorrow, because I have already been in tomorrow before your feet ever arrive there. Your word is a lamp to my feet and a light to my path. And that light does not always blaze across the whole sky, but it is always enough to keep you from losing your next step. Then there will be days when you look back and realize that your old home was not only the place where you once lived, but also the place where you once endured. There are memories that still make your heart tighten. There are words spoken long ago, yet whenever you remember them, your heart still aches as if they had happened only yesterday. There are faces from whom you once waited for a word of love, but in return received only coldness. There were childhood days when you learned to wipe away your own tears because you did not know who to run to. There were adult years when you smiled in front of everyone. Yet when night came, you wondered why you always felt as though you belonged nowhere. But my beloved child, I do not want you to continue living like a prisoner of the old rooms in your memory. I know there are things that cannot be erased by a single sentence. I know there are wounds that need time to heal. But each time you dare to look at them with the light of truth, I will place my hand upon the place that hurts the most. Each time you admit that you have been wounded, instead of pretending to be strong, I will not see you as weak. I will see it as the moment you begin to become real. And what is real, even when painful, is always the first door that leads into healing. Do not be afraid of tears, because there are tears that do not make you sink. They wash away the dust you have carried for far too long. Do not be afraid of the days when your heart becomes tender again, because a heart that can still be moved still has the ability to love, still has the ability to recognize beauty, still has the ability to receive the goodness I am sending to you. From that healing, I will teach you something deeper. You do not need to bring everyone with you into your new home. There are people you love, but they are no longer allowed to determine your worth. There are people you once tried so hard to please, but the more you tried, the more you lost yourself. There are relationships you kept only because you were afraid of being alone, while their presence made your heart lonelier than when you were by yourself. I am not telling you to live coldly. I am not telling you to turn your back on everyone who has disappointed you. But I want you to know that love does not mean allowing others the freedom to wound your soul. Forgiveness does not mean opening the door wide for what is harmful to return. Mercy does not mean you must let yourself be trampled upon. When I call you to step into a new home, I also call you to learn how to set holy boundaries. There are doors that need to be closed in peace. There are conversations that need to stop before they make your heart more defiled. There are people you need to entrust back to me, because you do not have the strength to change them yourself. Let me do my work in their lives, while your part is to keep your heart from becoming a place filled with bitterness. You can leave without cursing. You can remain silent without carrying hatred. You can let go and still pray for them. That is the freedom I want to give you. When the room of your heart gradually becomes brighter, you will begin to see things you once considered ordinary. You will realize that a simple meal can also be a blessing. A person who still sits beside you when life is difficult is also a blessing. A morning without pain, a deep breath, a phone call asking how you are. a child's laughter, a rain shower that softens the heat of a long day. All of these are seeds of heaven that I have sown into this world. You often think a blessing must be something great, that it must arrive in the form of money, success, fame, or things that make others marvel. But my child, some of the most precious things come in silence. A person who can sleep peacefully is wealthy. A family that knows how to sit down and eat together possesses treasure. A heart that no longer wants revenge is a heart that has been set free. Eyes that can still be moved by the sky are eyes that have not lost their life. When you learn to recognize these small things, you will see that I have never stopped working in your life. I was there in the times when you thought you could not continue, yet you still took another step. I was there in the days when you did not know how to pray and could only sigh in silence. I was there in the moments when no one understood you, but I understood, and I am still here, even now. As you are reading each of these words, and your heart is beginning to feel just a little less heavy, for that reason, do not look down on the small works in your hands. Perhaps today you are only doing work that no one notices. Perhaps you wake early to care for your family. Go quietly to work. Return when the sky has already grown dark, and then continue with nameless responsibilities. Perhaps you feel that you are not creating anything great, but remember that every home is built from small bricks. No one can build a place of peace in only one radiant day. It is built through each meal prepared with love, each word held back so it does not wound another, each small amount of money saved with wisdom, each evening when you choose to rest instead of continuing to let anxiety swallow you. Do not think your ordinary work is meaningless. Your hands, when they care for loved ones, when they fulfill responsibilities, when they wipe away a tear, when they lift up the weak, are taking part in the sacred work of love. Perhaps you cannot see the fruit today, but every seed of goodness has its season. Do not grow weary in doing good, for at the proper time, you will reap if you do not lose heart. What I love in you is not how much you can accomplish to make others admire you, but whether you can keep a pure heart amid the ordinary things of life. There are people in your life who are also waiting for a new home, even if they do not say it aloud. It may be the friend who always appears strong, yet is breaking inside. It may be your parents, who have grown older under worries no one knows. It may be your children, whose eyes are still bright, but whose hearts need to hear that they are loved. It may be your spouse, who is weary but does not know how to say it in a way that helps you understand. I have placed these people near you, not only so that you may receive love, but also so that you may learn to become a refuge for others. Sometimes you do not need grand words. You only need to sit beside them. You only need to listen without rushing to fix everything. You only need to say, "I am here." You only need to hold them when they no longer have the strength to explain what they are enduring. A new home for someone else may begin with your gentle presence. And when you give peace to someone, that peace will also return to you in a way you did not expect. For love never makes the heart poor. On the contrary, the more you love in the right way, the more spacious your soul becomes. But do not forget that sometimes the person you most need to embrace is yourself. You have been harsh with yourself for too long. You blame yourself for old mistakes. You torment yourself over lost opportunities. You look at others moving faster and wonder why your life always seems so slow. You may have called yourself a failure simply because a few doors did not open according to your desire. But, my child, do not use one difficult season to define your entire life. Do not use one stumble to name yourself. Do not take today's delay as proof that I have forgotten you. A seed beneath the earth may appear motionless, but beneath the dark soil, life is quietly moving. There are seasons when you see nothing changing, but I am deepening the roots of your faith. There are stages when you think you are standing still, but in truth, I am teaching you how to stand firm. The one who has never passed through the night will not fully understand the beauty of dawn. The one who has never waited will not know how to treasure what is given. So be merciful to yourself. Speak to your heart with the voice I use for you, gentle, truthful, not indulging what is wrong, but also not crushing you because of what has passed. You are still learning. You are still growing. You are still a work I have not yet completed. Then the time will come when I lead you through a door you once thought you did not have enough courage to enter. It may be a new beginning in your work. It may be a decision to live differently. It may be the day you dare to speak honestly about what you need. It may be the moment you stop chasing what does not belong to you. And when you stand before that threshold, you will feel your legs trembling. Do not be ashamed because you tremble. Courage is not the absence of fear. Courage is continuing to step toward what is good, even while your heart still shakes. David did not walk toward Goliath because he knew no fear. He walked because he knew that the one who was with him was greater than what threatened him. You are the same. There are giants in your life, the fear of failure, memories that make you feel small, financial pressure, words of judgment, years that seem to have taken away your youth. But you do not have to fight alone. I do not promise that you will never face difficulty. I promise that difficulty is not where your story ends. When you walk with me, what once frightened you can become the place where you discover a strength you never knew you had. Let your heart open to the beauty of beginning again. Do not think that starting over is a sign of failure. Sometimes beginning again is grace. Sometimes I allow you to return to the beginning, not to shame you, but so that this time you may build on a stronger foundation. There are things you once built too quickly, a relationship, a dream, a way of making a living, an image of yourself, and when they collapsed, you hurt so deeply that you thought everything was lost. But I saw clearly what you had not yet seen. That foundation had already been cracked for a long time. I do not take away what is good in order to leave you empty. At times, I allow what is fragile to fall so that you will not continue living in a house that could collapse at any moment. After the breaking, you will have the chance to set each brick in place again. This time, you will not build merely to be admired by others. You will build in order to have peace. You will not choose only what makes your heart restless. You will choose what allows your soul to rest. You will not rush forward simply to prove something. You will walk because you know you are being guided. And when night falls again, perhaps you will still have questions without answers. Perhaps tomorrow is not yet as clear as you hoped. Perhaps your hand still has not received the key to the house you once dreamed of. But do not let what has not yet come make you forget what is already being formed. I am in every breath you draw in. I am in the sleep you need. I am in your imperfect prayer. I am in the patience you have learned after times when you thought you could not wait any longer. I am in your eyes when you choose to look at others with compassion instead of judgment. I am in your hands when you do good, even though no one sees. Your new home is not only a place you will arrive at, it is the person you are becoming. A person who knows they are loved. A person who knows how to forgive without losing wisdom. A person who knows how to hope without denying reality. A person who knows how to walk slowly without walking backward. A person who knows that no matter how life changes, there is always a place I have prepared for you in love that never runs dry. So tonight, before you close a long day, place your hand upon your heart and whisper, I no longer have to live forever in the house of fear. I no longer have to carry the past like a sentence against me. I no longer have to walk alone. Let those words settle like a small flame within you. Then tomorrow, when you open your eyes, do not rush toward the things that make you panic. Take a moment to remember that I have gone before you. Step out of the room with gentleness. Look at the sky as though I am sending you a reminder. Do what needs to be done. Love the ones who need to be loved. Release what needs to be released. And hold on to the purity I have placed in your hands. For every day you live in truth. Every time you choose peace instead of despair. Every step you take, even while trembling, is a moment when I am drawing you closer to the new home. And that home, my beloved child, does not only have a door at the end of the road. It begins in the very moment you believe that you are worthy of being healed, being loved, being allowed to rest, and being brought home into my arms. And as you cross the threshold of that new day, the first thing I want you to recognize is not which door is opening on the outside, but the silence that is slowly returning within your heart. For there are people who are given a truly beautiful house, yet still cannot sleep, because inside them too many storms have not yet settled. There are people who change cities, change jobs, even change the people who walk beside them, yet still carry the old room filled with darkness inside their minds. I do not want you merely to change your place while keeping the same fear. I do not want you to step into what is new with hands still full of broken pieces from what is old. Therefore, before you receive the key of tomorrow, I want you to lay down the old keys you have held for far too long, the key of control, the key of resentment, the key of always trying to prove that you are strong. You do not need to keep every door in your life by your own strength. There are doors I will open for you when the time comes, and there are also doors I will close to protect you from what you cannot yet see. Do not be afraid when a door closes, because not everything that leaves you is a loss. Some things leave because that is how I clear the way for peace to enter. Tonight, when the world has become less noisy, when the sound of cars outside grows distant, when the final conversations of the day have also come to an end, I do not want you to run too quickly from the silence. Perhaps you are afraid of silence, because in silence you can clearly hear the things your heart has hidden. You hear again the voices of those who once wounded you. You remember the times you failed. You see the dreams that have not yet come true, the calls that were never answered, the prayers that seem to fall into emptiness. But my beloved child, do not run from that stillness. I am there. I am not only present in the days when you laugh loudly, when work goes well, when others praise you. I am also in the room when you sit alone, beneath the dim yellow light, in the eyes that have grown tired from trying, in the sigh you do not share with anyone. There are words I can only speak when you stop running too fast. There are healings that only begin when you dare to sit beside your own pain without hating it anymore. I am not ashamed of the weak places in you. I do not turn my face away when you weep. On the contrary, I come closer, like a father sitting beside the bed of a feverish child, making no noise, giving no rebuke, only placing his loving hand upon the child's forehead and staying until the heat has passed. Perhaps you once thought that a new home must begin with a great deal of money, with a major opportunity, with a change so obvious that everyone could see it. But I often begin great things through very small ones. One morning, you no longer reach for your phone the moment you open your eyes, but spend a few minutes giving thanks because you are still alive. One afternoon, you step outside, look at the sky, and no longer consider that day meaningless. One time, you say no to what wounds you. One time, you choose not to answer bitterness with bitterness. One time, you sit down and write out the plan for your life again, even while tears are still resting on the page. Such things may seem small in the eyes of the world, but in the kingdom of heaven, even a tiny mustard seed can become a place where the birds of the air come to find shelter. Do not despise humble beginnings. Do not look down on progress that no one applauds. You do not need to become a completely different person in a single day. I only desire that each day you take one step closer to the person I have called you to become. A new home is not built in one night, but every brick of faithfulness is making the foundation beneath your feet stronger. From those small things, I want to teach you a lesson that the human heart often forgets. You do not have to become worthy before you are loved. There are days when you try until you are exhausted simply because you want to prove that you deserve to be accepted. You work more, give more, please others more, endure more, hoping that one day someone will look at you and say that you are good enough. But I tell you that your worth is not measured by the number of people who need you, the number of times you succeed, or the number of praises you receive. You are loved not because you have never made a mistake, but because you belong to me. When you have not yet accomplished anything great, I still see you. When you do not yet know where the road ahead will lead, I still call your name. When you return with empty hands, I still open the door. The father in the story of the prodigal son did not wait for his son to come back with a beautiful record of achievement. He did not stand at the door to ask how much money his son had earned or how far he had corrected his wrongs. He ran out, embraced him, and clothed him with a new robe. Because true love does not begin with conditions. My beloved child, perhaps you have lived too long with the feeling that you must earn a place in someone else's heart. But in my heart, you have never been a stranger. You do not need to stand outside on the porch. The door is still open. When you begin to believe that you are loved, you will gradually understand what it means to let go. Letting go does not mean denying what once happened. Letting go does not mean pretending that you were never hurt. Letting go also does not mean you must return to the places that wounded you, or open your heart to those who have not yet learned to cherish your soul. Letting go means no longer allowing old wounds to decide how you see new people. Letting go means no longer using one terrible day to predict your entire future. Letting go means no longer holding tightly to the things I have told you to put down. There are memories you keep as though you were holding a shard of broken glass, even though every time you grasp it, your hand is cut again. You think that if you release it, you will lose the proof that you were once wounded. But I do not need you to keep blood on your hands forever in order to prove that you have passed through pain. I know, I have seen, I have not forgotten. And precisely because I know, I want to heal you. Let me take that shard of glass from the palm of your hand. At first, it may hurt, because you have grown used to gripping it tightly. But one day, you will look down and see that your hand can open to receive something new. On the journey back home, you will also meet people who do not understand your change. Some will prefer the old version of you, because that version was easier to control, easier to silence, easier to make ignore its own needs. Some will say that you have changed, that you have become distant, that you are no longer the same as before. Do not grieve too much over that. You were not created to remain forever in the shape that fear has molded. When a field is watered, weeds also grow alongside the wheat. When a soul is healed, the things that do not belong to peace will also begin to leave. Do not fear the distance that is necessary. Do not fear having to set boundaries again. Even Jesus had moments when he went into solitary places to pray. Moments when he did not answer every accusation. Moments when he walked away from places where people were unwilling to receive him. Love does not require you to become a vessel into which everyone may throw stones. True love gives you gentleness, but it also gives you wisdom. You can forgive without allowing yourself to continue being wounded. You can pray for someone without remaining where they sow darkness. You can bless the past with peace and still choose to move forward. Then there will come a day when you realize that your new home is built not only with what you receive, but also with what you give. When your heart begins to heal, you will see that you are able to become a refuge for others. One gentle word from you can be a shelter for someone who has just come through a storm. One meal you share can be comfort for someone who is lonely. One sincere message asking how someone is can save a heart that has begun to think no one remembers them. I have not called you to keep the light only for yourself. The more light is given away, the less it is ever depleted. There are people you meet not because they will solve all your problems, nor because you must carry all their burdens, but I can use your small presence to remind them that goodness still exists in the world. Do not think that what you do is too small. A candle does not make the sun rise, but it is still enough to drive away a portion of darkness in the room. And sometimes, in the very moment when you lift someone else up, I am also lifting you in a way you did not expect. Look more deeply into the seasons of life you have passed through. There was a season when you thought you had been abandoned, but in truth, I was teaching you to stand firm without depending on the applause of the crowd. There was a season when you thought you had lost, but in truth, I was taking you out of a race that was never meant for your soul. There was a season when you lost something you loved, and that loss confused you so deeply that you did not know what tomorrow would look like. I am not saying that every loss is easy to understand, or that every sorrow has an immediate explanation. There are mysteries in your life that you will only understand after you have walked a very long way. But I want you to know that not one of your tears is wasted when you place it in my hands. What was painful can become compassion. What once caused you to collapse can become wisdom. The nights when you thought you could not go on living can one day become the story through which you embrace someone who is in despair and say to them, "You were once in that place, but I led you through." That does not mean I make pain beautiful. It means my power can bring life out of lands that were once barren. Therefore, when tomorrow comes, do not only look to see what will change on the outside. Look to see how much your heart has changed. Do you still tremble before the things that once made you afraid? Do you still blame yourself for old mistakes? Do you still think you must save everything by yourself? Or have you begun to learn how to place each part of your life into my hands? Faith does not mean you know exactly how everything will happen. Faith is when you cannot yet see the whole road, but you still walk because you know I am walking with you. Just as the people of Israel in the wilderness were once led by a pillar of cloud by day and a pillar of fire by night. You may not be able to see the entire journey, but I will give enough light for today's step. I do not always give you the map of your whole life, because if you knew everything from the beginning, perhaps you would forget how to depend on me. But I will never leave you stranded along the way. When you are weak, I will give you strength. When you are confused, I will give you stillness. When you think you have gone too far, I still know the way to bring you home. So, my beloved child, do not fear tomorrow. Do not see it as a field covered in fog that you must enter alone. Tomorrow is coming to you like an invitation, like a gentle knock upon the door of your soul, like dawn touching the window after a long night. Perhaps tomorrow will not yet bring everything you desire, but it will still bring you an opportunity to begin again, an opportunity to love a little more, to be a little more peaceful, to be a little more courageous, an opportunity for you to stop living like someone bound by the past, and to live instead like a child being led by their father. Do not carry every old burden into the new morning. Lay them down at my feet. Do not keep asking why you had to pass through this. Ask me what you can learn, how you can become gentler, how you can keep faith amid what is still unclear. Then you will see that the new home I promised is not only a place ahead of you, it is the peace taking root within you. It is the courage returning. It is the light in your eyes when you no longer look at life through despair. It is the gentle voice within your heart reminding you, you have not been abandoned. You are not lost. You are being led home. And when you speak those words with honesty, even if they are only a very quiet whisper in a room, still covered in darkness, I have heard you. I hear even what you do not know how to put into words, the fear of hoping and then being disappointed again. The weariness of months and days of trying without seeing anything change. The trembling uncertainty of someone who has grown so used to holding themselves together that they no longer know what it means to be supported. My beloved child, do not be ashamed because you are tired. Do not blame yourself, because sometimes your heart cannot be as strong as others still believe it to be. Even a vast field has seasons when it lies still beneath the cold earth, bearing no flowers, producing no fruit, simply holding the seed silently in the dark soil. But the gardener does not look at that field and call it useless. He knows that beneath the surface that seems motionless, life is still being preserved. I look at you in the same way. Perhaps today you do not yet see the new home appearing before your eyes, but I am placing each stone in your life, straightening the beams that have become bent, clearing out the dark corners you have grown used to living with. Some of my work happens so quietly that you think nothing is taking place. But in that very silence, I am preparing a wider place for your soul. Perhaps you once thought that a new home must come through a radiant sign, through a great door suddenly opening, through joyful news that makes every old wound disappear at once. But my child, lasting things rarely come with thunder. Often, they come like a drop of dew resting on the edge of a leaf, so small that if you do not slow down, you will not notice it. It may be that tomorrow morning you wake earlier than usual, not because of worry, but because your heart has a little peace. It may be the first time in a very long while that you look into the mirror and no longer condemn yourself. It may be someone calling at the very moment when you need to hear a kind word. A small opportunity you once thought was not worth stepping into. An ordinary meeting that unexpectedly opens a new road. Do not despise those gentle signs. I often do not force the doors of your life to burst open. I knock very softly. I do not drag you out of darkness in haste. I light one lamp at a time. For I do not only want to bring you to a new place, I also want to teach you how to recognize the light, so that when you enter that place, you will know how to cherish it. Remember that there are people who have received the house they always longed for. Yet because they did not heal the emptiness within, they carried the old winter into every new room. They hang new pictures on the wall, yet their hearts are still filled with accusations. They change cities, change jobs, change the people beside them, yet they do not change the way they see themselves. Then they wonder why they feel lost wherever they go. Therefore, before I give you a different sky, I am teaching you not to carry the heavy suitcases of resentment, comparison, self-blame, and despair. You do not need to bring into tomorrow every word people once spoke about you. Some words were spoken in anger. Some came from ignorance. And some were thrown at you by people who did not realize they were wounding a soul that I treasure. Do not turn those words into your name. You are not a failure because you once failed. You are not someone left behind simply because someone walked away. You are not a burden because there were moments when you needed help. Your true name is not found in your wound. Your true name is written in the love I have for you. So as you prepare to step into the new home I am building, learn to lay down the things that no longer belong to you. There are memories you still hold as though you were gripping a shard of broken glass in your palm. You are afraid to let it go, because you think that if the pain is gone, you will forget what happened. But I am not telling you to forget. I am only telling you not to keep making yourself bleed in order to prove that you were once wounded. What happened has become part of your journey, but it is not the master of your life. Let me touch those broken pieces. Perhaps I will not erase the past as one erases a line written in sand, but I can turn the past into a testimony that you passed through the fire and were not consumed. I can make the place once marked by tears become the place where you understand the pain of others. I can make a heart that was once crushed become gentler, deeper, and able to love in a way that those who have never suffered may find difficult to understand. But for that to happen, You must stop holding the thorn as though it were part of your own body. Place it in my hands. I know how to heal you without taking away your tenderness. Sometimes, healing begins with a conversation you have delayed for too long. You are afraid to speak because you fear being misunderstood. Afraid that others will not listen. Afraid that what has been hidden will become a reason for them to leave you. But my beloved child, a house cannot stand firm if its foundation keeps trembling under the weight of things no one dares to say. I am not telling you to expose your soul before everyone. Wisdom is also a gift I give. But when you meet someone trustworthy, someone who knows how to listen without rushing to judge, someone who can pray with you instead of merely being curious about your pain, learn to open the door of your heart just a little. Do not let loneliness dress itself in the clothing of strength. There are burdens that were not created for you to carry alone. There are nights when you do not need to battle your tears in silence by yourself. If you need a hand, allow yourself to take that hand. I often send my comfort through people who know how to love. And sometimes, the answer to your prayer does not come like a voice from heaven, but through a person sitting beside you, quietly saying, "You do not have to go through this alone." Then one day, when you look back, you will realize that I carried you through roads which, when you first entered them, seemed filled only with fear. You once thought a closed door was the end, but later you understood that it had saved you from a place that no longer nourished your soul. You once hurt because you lost someone, but later you understood that I had not taken love away from you. I simply did not allow you to keep living on the fragments of a love that was exhausting you. You once grieved because you were rejected, but that very rejection led you toward a direction more fitting for what I had placed within you. Do not judge the story too quickly when you have only passed through the first few pages. A book cannot be understood by its most painful chapter alone. There are parts of your life you will not understand the moment they happen. Just as a seed does not understand why it must lie in dark soil before it can rise into a tree. But I see the whole garden. While you are only looking at one small corner of the field, I see the you of tomorrow. I see your eyes shining brighter. I see your hands no longer trembling when they touch the things that once made you afraid. I see you stepping into a room filled with light that today you cannot yet imagine. And that new home is not only a place where you receive, it is also a place where you become a blessing. When I comfort you, I do not comfort you only so that you may hurt less. I am also teaching you how to become someone who knows how to comfort. When I lead you out of lack, I do not give abundance only so that your heart may be at ease. I also teach you to open your hand to someone in need. When I give you peace, I do not want that peace to remain still in one small corner of your life. I want it to spread through the words you speak, through the way you treat the elderly, the children, the one who serves, and even the one who has wounded you. A truly warm home is not warm because it has many lights, but because there are people in it who know how to bring light to one another. Do not think you must be very rich, very talented, or very outstanding before you can do good. Just one gentle word to someone in despair, one meal shared with someone in need, one message checking on someone who has been absent for a long time, one act of patience in a family where everyone is tired, can also become a small flame, warming a heart. I have placed within you the ability to make this world more beautiful, not through things that are too grand, but through love lived out each day. If you are standing before a decision, do not panic too much because you are afraid of choosing wrongly. I am not the one who waits for you to take one wrong step so I can turn my back on you. I am the Father who guides the way. There are paths you will only know to be right or not after you have taken the first few steps. But walk in prayer, in honesty, in alertness, and in a spirit that refuses to do anything that would wound your conscience. When you do not know what to choose, ask yourself, which path allows you to live more truthfully? Which path does not force you to exchange your dignity? Which path allows you to sleep in peace without needing to hide what you have done? Do not choose only because others are walking in that direction. Not every door opened before your eyes is a door I want you to enter. There are beautiful doors with emptiness behind them. There are small paths, with no one applauding, that lead you to a place where your soul is nourished. Listen to the holy peace I place within your heart. That peace will not always remove all fear, but it will let you know that in the midst of fear, there is still a hand holding yours. When night falls again, and you feel that everything has still not changed, do not rush to doubt the promise. There are seeds that sprout in darkness. There are rivers that flow underground before they appear as springs. There are houses completed from days when outsiders can see only dust, bricks, the sound of tools, and disorder. Do not judge my work while it is still under construction. You are seeing only one part of the process, while I am already seeing the day the house is complete. When light will pass through the windows, when laughter will return, when the corners that were once cold will be filled with life. Perhaps today you do not have an answer to everything, but you still have me. Perhaps you do not know exactly where you will go, but you know the one who walks with you. Perhaps your purse is not yet full. Your strength is not yet strong. Your family is not yet perfect. Your heart is not yet completely healed. But I do not wait until you are perfect before I love you. I love you even now, while you are still learning how to trust again. So tonight, do not sleep with the soul of someone abandoned. Sleep like a child who knows their father is still awake. Do not let tomorrow's fear steal today's peace. Place upon me the questions that have no answers yet, the money you do not yet know how to manage, the relationships that are cracking, the dreams you fear will never come true, the illnesses that make you anxious, the memories that make your heart tighten. I do not promise that you will never face another trial, but I promise that you will not pass through that trial alone. When the wind is strong, I will be your refuge. When you are weak, I will be your strength. When you lose your way, I will be a lamp for your feet. And when you no longer know what to pray, simply say, Lord, I am here. That alone is enough for me to draw near, for I have never been as far from you as you imagined. Tomorrow, when you open your eyes, remember that you do not wake only to repeat old worries. You wake to receive a new opportunity I have placed before you. Perhaps it will not be the day when every miracle bursts open, but it can still be the day you begin rebuilding your life through small choices that are honest and full of hope. Fold your blanket, open the window, drink a glass of water, pray a simple prayer. Do what needs to be done. Speak a kind word. And do not forget to look up at the sky at least once, for the sky is still there, even when clouds cover it completely. My love is the same. It remains there, even when you cannot yet feel it. The new home I have prepared for you is being built not only at some address out there, but within every step by which you learn to live by faith instead of fear, by gratitude instead of complaint, by love instead of closing your heart. Then one day, you will stand in the light of your own life and understand, I did not only bring you to a new home, I brought you back to yourself, to the peace you were created to receive, and to the love that has never left you, not even for a single moment. And when you cross the threshold of that new day, do not hurry to look around for a great sign before believing that I am with you. The room may still look the same. The sky may still carry its familiar color. The sound of vehicles outside may still echo in as on every other day. And inside your heart, there may still be a few worries you have not yet had time to name. But my beloved child, what is new does not always begin with thunder. There are dawns when I come gently, like light touching the edge of a window. not overwhelming you, only causing the darkness to retreat little by little. I do not always change your circumstances in a single night, but I can change the way you stand in the midst of them. Yesterday, you looked at difficulty and saw only a wall. Today, I teach you to look more closely and recognize a thin line of light. Yesterday, you heard what others said about you and believed it was your definition. Today, I call you by a gentler name. You are the one who is loved, kept, and guided through seasons you do not yet fully understand. That is the first brick of the new home. You no longer live by old judgments, but begin to rest in the voice of love. When a house is being restored, the worker often has to touch the places that have fallen into decay. Sometimes they must remove the old wood, sweep away the dust that has gathered over many years, replace the cracked bricks even though from the outside they still appear to be standing. Your soul is the same. I know there are things you have hidden very carefully because you thought that if you simply did not mention them, they would no longer hurt. But wounds that are locked away do not disappear. They quietly make the room inside you colder. There are sorrows you have carried since a word of criticism in childhood. There are wounds that came from someone to whom you once gave your full trust. There are failures that made you no longer dare to come near your dreams. My child, I do not blame you for being weak. I do not look at you as a damaged house that must be abandoned. I look at you as a place once wounded by rain and wind, yet still worthy of being restored by gentle hands. Let me touch the things you have kept avoiding, not so that you must live in pain again, but so that pain no longer remains the master of your life. Perhaps you have grown so used to being strong that you have forgotten you also need to be held. You have learned how to smile when your heart is in turmoil, how to nod when, in truth, you want to say that you are not okay, how to keep walking even though the feet of your soul have grown weary. But my beloved child, the home I am building for you is not a place where you must always appear perfect. It is a place where you can lay down your armor. I do not need you to prove your worth before me. I do not love you because you are always right, always capable, always able to do everything. I love you even when you do not know what to do next. I love you when you are lost, when you cry over things others do not understand, when you kneel down with enough strength left to whisper a short prayer, please help me. There are prayers that do not need to be long, because I hear even the sigh your lips have not yet shaped into words. There are days when you only need to remain in silence with me, and that silence itself is already a return. And from that place of peace, I want to teach you something very deep. Do not be afraid of seasons of transition. You often fear when the old leaves, because even if it once made you sad, it was still familiar. You fear a new job because you do not know whether you are capable enough. You fear a new city because you do not know if anyone there will call your name. You fear a new beginning because your heart still carries the memory of a beginning that did not succeed. But my child, a seed cannot become a tree if it always wants to remain still in the soil. A river cannot reach the sea if it is afraid to leave its old path. Even winter must step back so spring can have room to enter. I do not push you into tomorrow so that you may face the unknown alone. I go before you. I stay beside you. And when your heart grows weak, I am also behind you to lift you up. There are doors I close that make you cry. But later, you will understand that because that door closed, you were no longer trapped in a place that had become far too narrow for your soul. Do not think that a new home is only for those who are ready. No, my beloved child. Many people step into the new with trembling hands, tear-filled eyes, and a heart still full of confusion. Courage does not mean fear has disappeared. Courage means you still walk while your heart is trembling, because you trust that my hand will not let you go. There will be days when you must leave behind familiar things without having a complete explanation. There will be days when you must say no to something that once made you happy, because it no longer keeps your soul healthy. There will be days when you must release a person, a relationship, an old dream, not because you did not love enough, but because I want to save your heart from continuing to hunger in a place where there is no longer life. Do not call every act of letting go a loss. There are things you put down so that both your hands may be free to receive what I am giving. There are things that leave so that the empty space may become a place where light can enter. But before you go any farther, I want you to learn how to forgive yourself. You have blamed yourself for far too long. You blame yourself for trusting the wrong person, for choosing the wrong path, for not seeing what you think you should have seen, for not being as strong as you wished you were. You carry the past like a sentence against you, then repeat it to yourself every time you want to begin something new. My child, I am not saying mistakes do not matter. I am not telling you to pretend the painful thing never happened, but I want you to know that mistake is not your true name. One fall does not turn you into a failure. One dark season has no right to declare that your life will forever be without light. The prodigal son returned with empty hands. But the father did not stand there asking how much he had lost. The father ran to him to say that his child had come home. I want you to return like that too, not carrying your own sentence, but carrying an honest heart. When you repent, when you learn from what is past, when you dare to repair what can be repaired, I do not keep you in the past. I open the door for you to step into a new chapter. So begin to look at small things with different eyes. A new home does not always appear in one glorious day. Sometimes it begins with you making your bed again after many days of discouragement. Sometimes it begins with you opening the curtains and letting sunlight touch a room that has been dark for too long. Sometimes it is a meal you cook for yourself with kindness, a message you send to a loved one, a moment when you honestly say that you need help. Do not despise small steps. I often hide miracles inside ordinary things, because I want you to realize that life is not found only in great moments. It is present in the water you drink when your body is tired, in the laughter of a child, in a leaf trembling before the wind, in the sincere greeting of a stranger. When you are grateful for small things, your heart becomes wider to receive greater things. When you care for what you already have, I will teach you how to cherish what is coming. And because you are learning to rebuild your life, I also want you to be careful with the people you allow to enter the house of your soul. Not everyone needs a key to your deepest place. There are people who come only to make the room of your peace become noisy. There are words wrapped in the appearance of concern that still make you doubt your own worth. There are relationships you keep because you fear loneliness, while their very presence makes you feel even more alone. I do not want you to seek revenge or nourish resentment, but I want you to know how to build boundaries with peace. A door has a lock not because the house lacks love. It exists to protect what is precious inside. Love, but do not lose yourself. Forgive, but do not hand your heart back to a place that still intentionally wounds you. Be kind, but also remember that I did not create you to become a place where everyone may freely lay down their unhealed burdens. From there, you will gradually understand that family is not only those who share your blood, but also the souls who know how to lift one another up in the light. I can send you a friend who knows how to listen, a teacher who knows how to encourage, a brother or sister in faith who reminds you that you do not have to walk alone. Do not close every door just because you have once been hurt. There are people I send not to replace anyone from the past, but to prove that goodness still exists. There are encounters that seem very accidental, yet become a small flame, helping you pass through a long night. When you feel you have no one, remember that I can still use paths you never expected to bring comfort to you. A timely word of concern, someone sitting beside you in silence, a gentle hand resting on your shoulder can also be the answer to a prayer you whispered in the dark. Yet, do not only wait to be loved, become a part of a home for others as well. You have walked through sorrow, so you understand the value of a word of encouragement. You have known lack, so you know that a small act of sharing can warm someone's heart. You have been lost, so you can look at someone who is lost with gentler eyes. The wounds I heal in you are not only so that you may live in greater peace, but also so that through you, someone else may know they still have hope. Perhaps you do not have much money, no power, no life the world would call remarkable, but you can offer a prayer, a meal, a smile, a listening ear without judgment. Do not think this is a small thing. In my eyes, love, given at the right time, can become the lamp that leads a soul back from very far away. Sometimes you will ask me, Lord, when will the new home truly come? I hear that question not only in the words you speak, but also in the impatience you try to hide. You long for something certain, a clear moment, a sign that cannot be mistaken. But my beloved child, I do not want you to live by counting each day and then feeling disappointed when life has not yet become what you hoped. I want you to live each day as someone who is being prepared, because there are blessings that, if they come too soon, will become a burden. But if they come at the right time, will become a refuge. There are doors that, if opened before you know who you are, you will step through only to lose yourself again. But when I have taught you how to guard your heart, how to discern, how to love with awareness, how to stand firm even when no one is applauding, then when the new comes, it will not make you lose your peace. Waiting is not always an empty space. Many times, it is the room I use to prepare you for what you have prayed for. Remember that I did not promise a life without wind and rain. Your new home may still hear the wind on the porch, may still have dark days, may still bring moments when you must face news that makes your heart sink. But I promise that you will no longer have to stand alone outside in the rain. I will be the fire in the hearth of your soul. I will be the hand holding the door when the wind blows hard. I will be the voice reminding you that the night does not last forever. There are storms that do not come to destroy you, but to show you which foundations in your life need to be rebuilt. And when everything shakes, you will realize that what truly holds you is not money, not praise, not control, but my unchanging love. That love does not promise that you will never cry, but it promises that your tears will not fall in vain. So tonight, before you sleep, let your heart become still. Do not carry all the unresolved things into your sleep, as though carrying stones in your chest. Give me what you cannot carry alone. Give me your fear of tomorrow, the burden of money, the unrest in your family, the loneliness in the silent room, the questions that still have no answer. You do not need to understand the whole road before you can walk. You only need to hold my hand on the path before you. When dawn comes, you may still not see the whole new home, but you will see that another brick has been placed within your heart. Perhaps it is courage. Perhaps it is peace. Perhaps it is a decision that must be made. Perhaps it is the final tear before you truly release the old. And then day by day, step by step, prayer by prayer, you will realize that I am not only preparing a place for you to go, I am turning you yourself into a home full of light, so that wherever you are, you will no longer lose the way back. And then, when you step into the new day with a heart still trembling but already learning to turn toward the light, you will realize that I have never merely shown you a road to walk. I am teaching you to become someone who can walk any road without losing your soul. Because a new home is not only the place you arrive at, but also the way you see yourself when standing before a door that is not yet opened. There will be mornings when you wake up. Look around the familiar room and see that everything still seems old. The old chair, the old wall, the sound of vehicles outside, the work waiting for you, the worries that have not completely disappeared. But my beloved child, do not think that I have done nothing new simply because everything outside has not yet changed. A seed beneath the soil makes no noise. It does not display its life so that the world may believe. Quietly, it cracks open in the darkness, quietly. It sends its roots deep into the earth, quietly. It seeks the water that human eyes cannot see. And then one day, when the time comes, even one tiny shoot rising up is enough to prove that life began long before. Your soul is the same. There are changes I make within you, not so that others may marvel, but so that you may live. Stand firm, and no longer be afraid when you must face yourself. Perhaps you have lived for many years like someone standing at a threshold but not daring to step inside. You see the light on the other side. You hear the voice of peace calling your name, but your feet still slow down because you fear the unknown. You fear that if you leave behind what is familiar, you will have nothing left. You fear that if you forgive, you will be weak. You fear that if you love again, you will be hurt again. You fear that if you begin a new job, a new journey, a new way of life, you will fail and be laughed at. But my child, there are doors that cannot be opened from the outside. They open only when you touch the handle with faith. I do not force you to run quickly. I do not blame you because you are still afraid. I only want you to know that every small step you take toward the light is seen by me. When you rise after a night you thought you could not endure, that is a step. When you choose not to answer hurt with hurt, that is a step. When you dare to say that you need help, that is a step. When you stop turning your back on your own life, that is a step. Do not underestimate those small things, because often it is the smallest steps that lead you out of the deepest darkness. And when you have crossed the first threshold, you will understand that inside the new home, it is not always completely quiet from the beginning. There are rooms within your heart that still hold dust. There are old memories still lying in a corner, not disappearing simply because you have decided to live differently. There are days when you think you have become strong, and then just one sentence, one familiar road, one old song, one old face can make your heart sink. Do not panic when that happens. A person who is healing is not someone who no longer feels pain, but someone who knows that pain no longer has the right to command them. You can remember without returning. You can be sad without despairing. You can cry without losing faith. You can look back at the past without allowing the past to define the future. I do not love you only on the days when you are strong. I love you also on the days when you are weak. The days when you do not know how to pray. The days when you can only sit still and sigh. Even that sigh, I understand. Therefore, do not turn the new home into a place where you must live perfectly in order to remain. Do not think that you must always be cheerful, always correct, always successful to be worthy of love. There are people who have carried that burden for far too long. They try to become someone everyone is pleased with. Try to keep a smile on their lips even when their heart is exhausted. Try to brace themselves through each day so no one sees their weakness. But I do not want you to live like a beautiful vessel on the outside while inside it is already cracked. I want you to be real. I want you to breathe. I want you to know that you can come before me without the garment of success, without polished words, without hiding your tears. In my presence, you do not have to perform the role of a strong person. You only need to be the child who needs to be held. There are things that cannot be healed by trying harder, but only by surrendering yourself to unconditional love. And that love does not make you weaker. It gives you enough strength to rise, because you know you no longer have to stand alone. From that place of rest, you will begin to look at the people around you with different eyes. Perhaps, before, you carried much resentment. You thought no one understood you, that others only knew how to hurt you, that life had taken too much from you. I do not deny what you have gone through. There are wounds that are real, words that have left deep marks, people who should have loved you but instead made you feel small. But do not let what they did turn your heart into a room without windows. Do not let the coldness of others make you forget that you can still love. There are people who hurt you because they themselves have never been healed. There are people who speak bitter words because they do not know the language of peace. That does not make wrong become right, but it helps you not carry the fire of resentment forever in your heart. Forgiveness does not always mean you must return to the place that once hurt you. Many times, forgiveness means you set the necessary distance, but no longer allow bitterness to control your soul. Then there will come a time when I teach you to treasure simple things that you once passed by without noticing. A meal with laughter, a call from a loved one, an afternoon when the air softens after days of heat, someone's hand resting on your shoulder in silence, a child running to embrace you for no reason, a glass of water when you are tired, a sleep not interrupted by worry. These things may not appear on the world's boards of achievement, but they are the bricks that create the warmth of life. People often think happiness must be something grand, a door flung wide open, a moment that makes everyone look. But sometimes, happiness is simply that you are no longer afraid to come home, simply that you have someone to call when your heart sinks, simply that you look in the mirror and no longer hate yourself, simply that, even if life changes, there is still one who does not change. Holding your hand, my beloved child, there are days when I will not remove every cloud from your sky, because I want you to learn to recognize the light even when the sky is still full of clouds. There are prayers I do not answer in the way you expect, because what you ask for may only be a small door, while I am preparing a wider road for you. There are things you lose, not because I want to hurt you, but because I know you cannot carry everything into the new season. A branch that wants to blossom must endure pruning. A river that wants to flow far must leave the small spring where it began. A bird that wants to fly high must one day leave the nest. Those departures are not always easy, but not every farewell is an ending. There are farewells that are the way I set you free from a place that had become too narrow for your soul. There are losses that make you think you are empty-handed, when in truth, I am lightening your baggage so you have enough strength to go farther. Do not be afraid when I call you out of your comfort zone. You may have grown used to an unhappy but familiar life, used to being overlooked, used to enduring, used to always placing yourself last. But you were not created to live forever in things that make you wither. A flower is not at fault because it needs light. A stream is not at fault because it needs to flow. A soul is not at fault when it longs to be respected, to rest, to be loved in a healthy way. Do not call your need for healing selfish. Do not call protecting your soul coldness. Do not call saying no to what destroys you betrayal. There are moments when your no is truly a yes to the life I want to give you. There are times when leaving a closed door is the moment you realize there is still a sky ahead, even in the days when you have not yet seen the new thing. I want you to learn to become faithful to the present. Do not live only waiting for a faraway tomorrow while forgetting the blessing of today. Today also has a lesson, an opportunity, a person who needs your gentleness, something you can do with greater kindness. Perhaps today you do not yet have the house you dream of, but you can clean the small room where you are living. Perhaps today you do not yet have the perfect job, but you can do your present work with honesty. Perhaps today you do not yet have the family you long for, but you can begin to heal the way you love those who are beside you. Perhaps today you do not yet have much money, but you can still learn to manage what you have with gratitude. Those who are faithful in small things are not faithful because small things are everything, but because they understand that every great thing begins with a heart that knows how to care for what has been entrusted to it. There will be times when you feel slower than others. You look at your friends who have already settled down, who have a home, a family, a career, and radiant pictures glowing on the screen, and you ask yourself why you are still struggling to find your way. But my child, do not use someone else's life as the measure for your own journey. Some trees bloom in spring, some only blossom at the end of summer, and some seeds remain hidden beneath the earth for a very long time before becoming great trees. Another person's timing is not a judgment upon you. I have not forgotten you simply because I am working according to a different rhythm. There are paths that require many years of preparation. Not because you are slow, but because what I have prepared for you requires a mature heart to preserve it. Do not hurry to receive what you are not yet strong enough to carry. Do not step into places that wound you simply because you feel lonely. Do not choose the wrong person, the wrong work, or the wrong path just because you are afraid of being late. I would rather let you wait in peace than let you run through a dazzling door whose other side is darkness. And then, in the midst of those days, I will send you small signs of life. It may be someone who appears at the right moment to remind you that you are not alone. It may be an opportunity you once thought could never come. It may be the strength to finish something you used to avoid. It may be a morning when you wake up and realize that your heart no longer feels as heavy as before. Do not consider these things random. Keep those moments in your heart as one keeps a lamp burning in the night. When fear returns, remember that I have already carried you through things you thought you could never overcome. When your heart grows weak, remember that you once stood again after days when standing seemed impossible. When you feel as though you have nothing, look back at what I have quietly preserved for you, the breath within your chest, the hands that can still work, the heart that can still be moved, and a new day still being given. And if one day you truly hold the key to a new home in your hands, remember not only to give thanks for the walls, the rooms, and the address, give thanks for the journey that taught you how to build peace. Let that house be not merely a shelter from rain and sun, but a place where words are spoken with love, where the weary can rest, where children do not have to be afraid, where the elderly are heard, where meals contain not only food but presence. Let the light in your home remind those who enter that mercy dwells there. Let your door open not only to those who are successful, but also to those who are weak, those who need a word of encouragement, and those who are searching for a place where they can still believe life holds something good. A home built with love may be small, but it is large enough to heal many hearts. But even if you do not yet have that in your hands, I still want you to live as someone who has already found a home in me. Do not let your heart wander after the recognition of the world. Do not let your worth depend on whether other people choose you or not. Do not let one closed door make you believe your whole life has ended. There are places that do not receive you simply because they are not the places I have appointed for you to remain. There are people who do not see your worth simply because their eyes have never learned to see through love. But I see you. I see you in the days when you silently keep trying. I see you when you quietly endure without complaint. I see you when you still choose goodness in a world that can so easily become cold. And I say to you once more, you are not invisible. You have not been left behind. You are not someone begging for a place in love. You have belonged to love since before you could do anything to prove that you were worthy. So tonight, when you lay your head upon your pillow, do not carry all the burdens of tomorrow with you. Give me the things you cannot control. Give me your fear about money. about the future, about your health, about your family, about the doors that have not yet opened. Give me even the things you dare not say to anyone. Then sleep like a child who knows that there is one keeping watch outside the door of your heart. Tomorrow morning, when you wake, the sky may still look the same, and the road before you may still be long, but you will not walk like someone with no refuge. You will walk like a child being led home. And day by day, step by step, with every tear dried and every faith restored, that new home will appear not only in the place where you live, but within your very soul. Then, even when the wind rises and life changes, you will still know, I am here. I have not left you. And in me, you already have a place to return to. And when you whisper that prayer in the stillness of the night, when your lips have not yet finished speaking, but your heart is already trembling with hope, I want you to know that I was there even before you called. I am in the room where you are sitting, in the darkness between two sighs, in the tear you quickly wiped away so no one would see. I am in the steady turning of the fan, in the old home that has witnessed so much of your weariness, in the chair where you often sit thinking about the things that have not yet come to pass. I have never been far from you. It is just that on some days sorrow stands so close that you think I have gone away. But no, my beloved child, I am still sitting beside you, patient like a lamp that does not go out in the long night. I do not force you to be strong at once. I do not ask you to smile while your heart is still hurting. I only invite you to place your tired hand in mine, so I may lead you across the threshold of tomorrow. For there are doors that do not open by strength, do not open by tears, and do not open by your effort to understand everything. There are doors that open only when you believe that on the other side, there is still a love waiting for you. Perhaps many times you have stood before closed doors and wondered why I would not open them for you. There was a door to a job you deeply desired, the door to a relationship you prayed for, the door to an opportunity that seemed as though it could change your entire life. You looked at it with longing eyes, knocked upon it with earnest prayers, and waited until your heart ached like a wound. And when it did not open, you thought I had not listened. But my child, there are rooms behind those doors that do not have enough light for your soul. There are places that seem spacious, but would make your heart grow narrower and narrower. There are things you call blessings, but if I gave them too soon, they could become burdens. I do not refuse you because I am cold. I hold you back because I see what you do not yet see. As a father does not let his child run straight into a road filled with passing vehicles. So, there are times when I pull you back from what you want. You may cry. You may not yet understand. You may think you have been abandoned. But one day, when you look back, you will realize that the very door that did not open protected you from a season of storms. Therefore, do not let the things that did not happen make you lose your ability to believe in what is still coming. Do not let one disappointment close your whole heart. Do not let someone's rejection make you think your worth has been taken away. You are not defined by what has left you. You are not small simply because someone failed to recognize the light I placed within you. A flower is no less beautiful just because a passerby does not stop to admire it. A stream does not stop flowing just because someone does not know how to bend down and drink from it. You are the same. You are still, my child, still carrying within you the breath of life, still holding a chapter that has not yet been written. I do not measure you by the times you were left behind. I do not call you by failure, poverty, illness, loneliness, or the mistakes of the past. I call you by love. I call you the one I have known since you were still in your mother's womb. I call you the one who is preserved, upheld, and led through days when even you did not know you had been that strong. Then there will come a morning when you wake up and realize that your heart is no longer as heavy as it was yesterday. Not because every problem has suddenly disappeared. Not because the debts have dissolved overnight. Not because the people who once hurt you have all become gentle. But because I have placed a new strength within you. You will wake, see the light touch the window frame, and realize that you can still keep going. Perhaps the first thing you do will simply be folding your blanket, making a cup of tea, opening a window, or calling someone you have not spoken to in a long time. But do not look down on those small things. Some lives are redirected not by a great thunderclap, but by an ordinary action done with a renewed heart. A seed makes no sound while it lies beneath the earth, but under the dark soil, it is quietly breaking open so it can move toward the light. I am working within you in the same way. You may not hear anything yet. You may not see anything yet. But something new has begun to move. I know you are tired of waiting. Waiting for a reply. Waiting for a job. Waiting for better health. Waiting for a loved one to change. Waiting for an opportunity to step out of a narrow place. Waiting can sometimes make your heart feel withered. You see others moving faster, having nicer homes, more peaceful families, more stable work, and you wonder why your journey is filled with so many uneven roads. But do not look at your life through someone else's measure. Every soul has its own season. Some trees bloom at the beginning of spring, and some only begin to bear fruit at the end of summer. No one blames the olive tree for not being like the lily. No one blames the sea for not flowing like a river. I created every life with its own rhythm, its own path, its own way of growing. What I love in you is not the speed at which you run, but the fact that you continue to walk even when your feet tremble. Do not be ashamed that you are moving slowly. Slow does not mean lost. Sometimes I let you walk slowly so you can notice the things that the hurried will pass by. There are lessons that can only come when your heart has grown quiet enough. I cannot place peace into a mind that is always running away from itself. I cannot bring you into a new home if you are still carrying suitcases filled with anger, insecurity, and fear. So, before opening another door, I want to help you lay down what you no longer need to carry. You do not need to carry the words that wounded you many years ago. You do not need to carry the image of yourself that others imposed upon you. You do not need to carry shame over the mistakes for which you have repented. There are burdens you have carried for so long that you have mistaken them for part of your body. But I say to you today, you are allowed to lay them down. You are allowed to live more lightly. You are allowed to forgive yourself. Forgiveness is not denying what happened. It is refusing to let it continue ruling tomorrow. I do not want you imprisoned in the room of the past, where every wall is hung with pictures of the days you were in pain. I want to lead you outside, where the sky is still wide, where the wind is still pure, where your footsteps can still move toward a new dawn. And when you step out, you may be afraid. Afraid that you are not capable enough. Afraid that you will fail again. Afraid that if you begin again, you will lose everything once more. But my child, courage is not the absence of fear. Courage is continuing to walk while your hands are still trembling. Continuing to pray while the answer has not yet come. Continuing to love even after you have been wounded. David did not step out before Goliath because he knew no fear. He stepped out because he knew there was one greater than his fear. You are the same. The things facing you may be great, but they are not greater than I am. The bills are not greater than the wisdom I can give. The closed doors are not greater than the road I can open. Bitter words are not greater than the gentle voice I place within your heart. Even the months when you thought you had lost your direction were not outside my hand. When you do not know where to go, take one step at a time with me. I do not always show you the whole road. but I always give enough light for the next step. I also want you to look again at the people beside you. Perhaps you have been so busy struggling with the world that you forgot to embrace those in your home. Perhaps your parents have grown old quietly, their hair turning whiter without you noticing in time. Perhaps your children are growing up amid hurried days, longing just once to hear you ask, "Were you happy today?" Perhaps your spouse does not need a great gift, but a gentle word after a long day. A new home is not only a place I bring you to, it is also the way you make the place where you are warmer. Do not wait until you have more before you begin to love more. Do not wait until you are successful before calling your mother. Do not wait until everything is settled before saying you are sorry. Love should not be delayed forever. There are words that, if not spoken today, may be too late tomorrow. I want you to become someone who brings peace into the home where you live, so that anyone who enters may feel there the gentleness of me. Of course, I know there are homes that are not easy to return to. There are places with more arguments than laughter, more silence than sharing, more wounds than embraces. If you are in such a place, I am not telling you to pretend that everything is beautiful. I am not asking you to endure harm without seeking help. But I want you to know this: even when the house outside is still filled with storms, I can still build a room of peace within your heart. It is a place no word from another person can invade. It is a place where I remind you that you deserve to be respected, to be safe, to be heard. Sometimes you need to step away from the places that hurt you in order to preserve the life I have given. Sometimes you need to say no so you do not continue losing yourself. Do not be afraid to set boundaries. A boundary is not a wall of hatred. It is a gate of wisdom. It protects the garden I am growing within your heart. And then, along that journey, you will begin to realize that the new home is not only something I give to you, but something I want to build through you for others. Perhaps one day, a weary person will come to you and find in your words a place to rest. Perhaps a child will always remember the smile you gave at a moment when they felt forgotten. Perhaps a friend in despair will keep living simply because you sat beside them on an afternoon filled with tears. Do not think these things are small. A little lamp does not disappear simply because the room is wide. On the contrary, because the room is dark, the lamp becomes even more precious. I can use your kindness to bring light into another life. I can use your healed wounds to touch someone who is still in pain. I do not waste a single tear you have cried. There are sorrows that, after being placed into my hands, become compassion. There are times when you fell down that later become a bridge, helping you understand others who are falling. Do not be afraid that you must be perfect before I can use you. No one enters my house by their own perfection. They enter through humility, through openness, through faith that grace is greater than every shortcoming. I am not looking for a person who never stumbles. I am looking for a heart that knows how to return. I am not looking for hands that have never trembled. I am looking for hands willing to lift another. You may still have weak days. You may still have moments of doubt. But do not think because of that I cannot do something beautiful through your life. In the very place where you feel most fragile, I can reveal the strength of love. In the very place you thought was a crack, light may enter. So instead of hiding everything, bring the parts of you that are not yet healed to me. I am not repelled by your fragility. I am the one who knows how to touch broken pieces without causing them more pain. Perhaps you are thinking of a real house with a new key, a place you can call a settled home. I know that dream. I know you want your parents to struggle less. You want your children to have a proper room. You want to come home each evening without fearing where you will be tomorrow. I do not make light of those very earthly dreams. Continue to work. Continue to learn. Continue to save. Continue to seek honest opportunities. Let your prayers walk together with diligent hands. I can lead you to paths you never imagined, send helpers to you at the moment you need them most, and open possibilities that seem to have closed. But while you wait for the outward home, do not forget to preserve the home within. For some people possess much and yet their hearts remain empty. But the one who has peace in me can feel the richness of grace even in a small room. I want to give you both the wisdom to build your life and the peace not to lose your soul in the process. So, do not be afraid of tomorrow. My child, tomorrow does not come like a stranger who wishes to take away what you have now. Tomorrow is a blank page that I can still write upon with mercy. Perhaps there will still be a few tears on that page, because life is not always free from sorrow. But I will not allow tears to be the only thing that remains. I will also write new encounters, new lessons, new doors, new healings, and moments when you rise again stronger than you ever thought you could be. And one day, when you look back, you will see that the road you walked was never meaningless. The dark stretches taught you to love the light. The times you were left behind taught you to cherish those who stayed. The seasons of lack taught you to treasure every small gift. The wounds taught you to speak more gently to others. All of it, in my hands, can be transformed into good. Tonight, before you close your eyes, I want you to hear this clearly. Your soul is not homeless. You have not been abandoned in the vastness of life. You have a place in my heart, a place no storm can destroy, no failure can take away, and no judgment can shut out. Let your heart rest there. Let the worries you have been carrying be laid down at my feet. Let me guard your sleep, protect your mind, and prepare you for the dawn that is coming. Then, when you wake, even if everything outside is not completely changed, step forward as one who knows they are being led home. For your new home is not only at the end of some distant road. Your new home begins the moment you believe that I am still here, still holding your hand, still calling your name with love, and still quietly opening for you a tomorrow more beautiful than anything you have ever dared to hope for. And then, when you softly whispered those words in the night, when your lips were still trembling because you did not know what tomorrow would bring, I was already very near. Not merely near, like a beautiful thought passing through your mind. Not near, like a candle flickering and then going out in the wind, but near like the breath that lifts your chest with every heartbeat. There are nights when you think you are so alone that no one in the whole world could understand what you are enduring. You lie there, hearing the clock pass through each moment, hearing the silence of the room, hearing your own heart feel heavy, as if you were carrying an old house upon your shoulders. But, my beloved child, even in the very moment when you thought no one saw your tears, I saw them. I did not only see the tear falling onto your pillow, I also saw what was behind it, the fear you did not speak, the disappointment you tried to hide, the tiny hope you were still holding tightly, like a child holding the last lamp in the darkness. And I say to you, do not be afraid of tomorrow. Tomorrow does not come to judge you. Tomorrow does not come to remind you of all the things you have not yet accomplished. Tomorrow comes like a door I have placed before you, so you may know that this life still has a way forward. Therefore, do not look at tomorrow only through eyes that have been worn down by the past. Do not enter a new morning wearing the garment of old failure, carrying the old voice that keeps telling you that you cannot change, that your destiny has already been decided by the painful things that once happened. Some people carry the name of their wound for their whole lives, until they forget that I have called them by another name, beloved, forgiven, chosen, and filled with hope. My beloved child, I do not deny what you have been through. I know there are events that have left very deep marks. I know there were people who spoke words to you that made your heart grow cold. I know there were doors that once slammed shut in front of you, making you afraid to knock on any door again. But the doors that closed were not a sign that I had abandoned you. Sometimes I allow a door to close because behind it is no longer a place where your soul can be nourished. There are places where you once begged to remain, but I knew that if you stayed any longer, you would lose the gentleness within yourself. So I pulled you out, even though at that moment you thought I was taking away the most precious thing you had. Like Jacob of old, you too may have laid yourself down many times in the middle of the journey, using a stone as a pillow, not knowing where you truly belonged. Jacob left home in fear, carrying a tangled past and an uncertain future. That night, he had no home, no soft bed, no one standing beside him to assure him that everything would be all right. Yet precisely in the place he thought was only a wilderness, I opened the heavens for him and let him see a ladder joining earth to heaven. He awoke and said that this place was awe-inspiring, for it was truly the house of God. Do you see? My child, there are places you thought were deserts, yet they are the very places where I am teaching you to recognize my presence. There are nights when you thought you had been left behind, yet in that very night I was placing a new dream within your heart. There are stones on which you are resting your head today that will one day become testimonies that I met you when you were at your weakest. So do not despise the days that are not yet perfect. I can turn a barren place into Bethel, turn the place where you trembled into the place where you realize, surely the Lord is in this place. And I did not know it. From that place, I want you to learn how to rename the things in your life. You once called waiting being forgotten, but I call it a time of preparation. You once called loss the end, but I call it an empty space where I can place something new. You once called tears weakness, but I call them waters, washing away what no longer belongs to you. You once called your small room a limitation, but I can turn it into a place where you learn a peace that money cannot buy. You once called your present work meaningless, but I know every step you take, every drop of sweat you pour out, and every unseen act of faithfulness. Do not be too quick to judge a chapter when the story I am writing has not yet reached the end of the page. You often see only the road in front of you, but I see the whole path. You see the door that has not yet opened, but I see the room behind it being prepared. You see yourself as slow, but I see that you are moving at the right rhythm, so you will not lose your soul along the journey. Perhaps today you are still living in a house filled with heavy voices. Perhaps they are voices of complaint, blame, and doubt. Perhaps they are old memories, repeating themselves like a long rain falling on a tin roof. I am not telling you to pretend that everything is beautiful. I do not want you to cover your pain with a bright layer of cheerfulness while quietly breaking apart inside. But I invite you to let the light enter. A dark room does not need to fight darkness with darkness. It only needs a lamp to be lit. And sometimes that lamp begins with a very short prayer. Lord, please be with me. Sometimes it begins when you sit up, open the window, and let new air enter the room. Sometimes it begins with a call to someone you trust, with the honesty to say that you are tired, that you need to be supported. Do not be ashamed because you need someone beside you. From the very beginning, I did not create humankind to live alone in this world. I created love, friendship, family, and community, so that when one heart grows weak, other hands may help lift it up. And when you step out of that loneliness, I will teach you to recognize who should be invited into the new home of your life. Not everyone who has crossed your threshold has the right to remain forever. There are people I send to bless you, to encourage you, and to build with you. But there are also people who come only to take away your peace, make you doubt your worth, and draw you farther away from the purity I placed in your heart. My beloved child, kindness does not mean you must open the door for every wound to enter. Forgiveness does not mean you must continue staying where people treat you poorly. I teach you to love, but I also teach you wisdom. There are doors you need to close in peace. Not because you hate the person on the other side, but because you are protecting what I am healing within you. A new home needs a firm foundation, and that foundation must not be built out of fear of making others unhappy. It is built with truth, self-respect, and the courage to know that you too are precious in my eyes. Sometimes you fear change because you think that in order to step into something new, you must become a completely different person. But I do not come to erase who you truly are. I do not want you to become a copy of someone else, nor do I want you to trade away your own voice, your own dreams, and the very unique tenderness I have placed within your soul. I only want to wash away the layers of dust that life has placed upon you, the dust of inferiority, the dust of hatred, the dust of comparison, the dust of lies you have believed about yourself. When I say that I am giving you a new home, I am also saying that I want you to return to the beautiful identity that is truly yours. You were not born to live your whole life in fear. You were not created to be a prisoner of the times you stumbled. You were created to reflect light, to bring comfort to others, and to become a garden with shade for weary souls. But before you can become a place of rest for others, you must allow me to lead you into my rest. Let me tell you about the woman of Zarephath, who had only a small handful of flour and a little oil in a jar. She stood before tomorrow with the despair of a mother who did not know how she would feed her child. In her eyes, that was the last portion. In her heart, it was the end. But I performed the miracle not by filling her storehouse in a single moment, but by allowing that handful of flour not to run out and that jar of oil not to become empty day by day. Do you understand what I want to say to you many times? I do not give you everything you want all at once, because I want to teach you to recognize my provision each day. Today has enough for today. Tomorrow, I will give strength again for tomorrow. You do not need to carry the burden of the whole month, the whole year, or your whole life upon your shoulders right now. You only need to walk with me today. A meal, a job, an opportunity, an idea, a kind person arriving at the right time, health being restored little by little. These too may be the jar of oil that does not run dry, the provision I am preserving in your life. So, do not despise the small things I have placed in your hands. Perhaps it is an ability you think is not worth much. Perhaps it is your voice, your hands, a skill you have learned, a story you have lived through, a heart that knows how to listen, a patience you yourself do not even recognize. You keep looking at what you lack, while I am looking at what I have already planted within you. When Moses said he could not speak well, I still called him to go. When David was only a shepherd boy, I still saw in him a heart that knew how to trust. When 5 loaves and 2 fish were placed in my hands, they became a meal for the crowd. Do not say, I have nothing. Bring what you have before me. A handful of flour can become life. One small step can begin a journey. One kind word can save a heart standing on the edge of despair. One time when you choose honesty instead of the easy way can change the entire direction of your life. I do not require you to have much before you begin. I only need you to offer that small thing to me with a willing heart. Then there will be mornings when you wake up and realize you no longer cry over what once hurt you. Not because you have forgotten everything, not because the past never happened, but because I have healed the part of you that was trapped there. You will look back at the old days and no longer see only brokenness. You will see how I was beside you. You will realize that there were times when I quietly kept you from a wrong decision, encounters that I arranged, Moments you thought were luck, but were actually my hand lifting you up. Then you will understand that a new home is not only a place you arrive at, it is the person you become after years of learning to take refuge in me. You will no longer search for peace in every place outside yourself, because you have learned how to carry peace within you. No matter what room you enter, whether you stand in the middle of a crowd or walk alone on an empty road, you will still know that you belong to me. And when a person knows they belong to me, that person is no longer a wanderer. Perhaps today you are still in the middle of moving house within your soul. There are old boxes that have not yet been opened, pieces of memory you do not know whether to keep or let go, and things you must learn to say goodbye to. Do not rush yourself. Do not force your heart to heal immediately just because you want to step quickly into a new chapter. Some wounds need time. Some habits need to be replaced day by day. And some fears need to be touched by me many times. But believe this, I do not grow tired of healing you. I do not leave halfway simply because you are slow to change. I do not look at you with disappointment every time your heart becomes weak again. I am more patient than all the patience you have ever known. I will remain with you through every room, picking up the broken pieces with you, wiping clean the dusty corners, opening every door you have kept locked for so long. And one day, you will stand in the middle of your own life. Look around and see that the place once filled with crying now has peace. The place once cold now has light, and the place you once wanted to run away from has become the home you now want to cherish. When that day comes, you will also understand that I am not only building a home for you, I am also shaping you into a shelter for others. Those who have been wounded will find gentleness in you. Those who are confused will discover a little hope in your words. Those who have lost their way will realize that you do not judge them, because you know what it feels like to be lost. The tears you once shed will not be wasted. They can become streams that nourish compassion within you. The days you once walked through alone will teach you how to sit beside someone else without needing to speak grand words. The doors that once closed before you will teach you how to open your heart wide to those who need a place where they are welcomed. That is the beauty I continue to work in the lives of my children. I do not allow pain to have the final word. I turn pain into mercy, waiting into depth, and your journey home into a lamp for others. Going a little deeper, I want you to look at the old keys you still carry in your heart. There are keys you have held onto for a very long time. The key of anger, of memories, of betrayal, of promises that were once broken, of people who did not stay when you needed them most. You keep them not because you enjoy pain, but because you fear that if you let them go, you will have nothing left to prove that you were once hurt. But I do not want your wound to become your identity. You are not only the one who was abandoned, you are not only the one who once failed, you are not only the one who had to try twice as hard to be loved. You are the child whose name I know. The soul I saw before you even knew who you were. Do not give your whole life to doors that have already closed. There are places you no longer need to return to in order to ask for an explanation. There are people you no longer need to keep waiting for, hoping they will become what they never wanted to become. Forgiveness is not reopening the door for evil to come in again. Forgiveness is no longer allowing the room within your heart to be occupied by its shadow. When you forgive, you are not declaring that what happened was light or harmless. You are simply declaring that it will no longer have the power to decide who you become. And when you place that old key into my hand, I will give you another key, the key of freedom. In that new home, I want you to learn again how to call yourself by a gentle name. You have lived for many years under the names others placed upon you, the one who is not good enough, the one who is too weak, the unsuccessful child, the woman who was not chosen, the man who cannot carry the burden, the one for whom it is already too late to begin again. Those names have clung to you like dust from the road, causing you to forget my first calling over your life. But I have never called you by your failure. I have never looked at you through a mistake. I have never loved you less on the days when you were exhausted, nor loved you more, simply because today you accomplished something great. My love does not rise and fall according to your achievements. It does not change with the praise or criticism you hear from others. When you kneel in silence, when you do not know what to say except the words, Lord God, I still understand everything your heart cannot express. I see even the part of you that you are trying to hide. I see the weariness behind your smile. I see the loneliness in crowded gatherings. I see the dreams you dare not speak of because you fear they may be considered too small or too impossible. And I tell you this, you do not need to become someone else in order to be worthy of entering my house. You only need to return. When you return, do not be surprised if I do not lead you only to a place where flowers bloom and gentle music plays. There are rooms within your heart that must be cleaned before they can become places of rest. There are old boxes you have carefully hidden away, filled with memories that have not yet been named, words you never spoke, and pains you once thought you had forgotten. I will not force you to open them in haste. I am the Father who knows how fragile your heart is. I will sit beside you long enough, quietly enough, gently enough, until you are no longer afraid to look back. There are sorrows that do not disappear simply because you try to appear strong. There are losses that need to be wept over. Not so you may drown in tears, but so your soul may breathe out what it has held in for too long. Do not be ashamed to weep before me. Tears do not make you smaller. Tears are streams that wash away the dust you have carried through many seasons. David once lifted his cries to me in the nights when he was being pursued, and I did not see those cries as weakness. I heard them as prayer. It is the same with you. Whenever you cannot speak with words, let your heart speak through tears. I understand. Then one day, you will realize that the new home I give you is not only a place where you are healed, but also a place where you can become healing for others. What you have walked through will no longer be only darkness. It will become a lamp for someone who is lost on the road. The one who has known hunger will understand the value of a meal. The one who has known loneliness will know how to sit beside someone in despair. The one who has been wounded will know how to speak gently to a breaking heart. I do not waste a single tear of yours. There is no long night you have passed through that I cannot turn into compassion. There is no crack that I cannot make into a place where light enters. Remember the Samaritan woman by the well. She once carried within herself so many stories that caused others to keep their distance. But after she met Jesus, she became the one who ran back to tell the whole village. What she once felt ashamed of was no longer a chain. It became evidence that grace can meet a person at their lowest place and lift them up. You too will have a day when you say, I once thought I could never begin again, but the Lord brought me home. And that testimony may become a door that opens hope for someone else. Do not forget that a new home also needs new flames. You cannot live forever by the light of yesterday. There are prayers I have answered, seasons in which I have rescued you, and things I once did that moved your heart deeply. Be grateful for them, but do not turn them into the place where you remain forever. I am still at work. Grace is not a stream that flows only once and then runs dry. Every morning, I still have new mercy for you. Every day, I still have strength enough for that day. So do not use yesterday's failure to predict tomorrow. Do not take one rejection as proof that your life will always be met with closed doors. Do not take one season of lack and believe that you will never have enough. Winter may be long, but it is not eternal. A seed beneath the earth is not dead simply because your eyes have not yet seen it sprout. There are things I am preparing in silence, deeper than the place your hands can reach. When Noah saw the olive leaf in the dove's beak, he knew the floodwaters had begun to recede, even though the ground was not yet completely dry. Sometimes I also send such small signs into your life an unexpected word of encouragement, a person who appears at just the right time, a fragile opportunity, a new idea, a morning when you wake up and feel a little lighter. Do not despise those small olive leaves. They are signs that the floodwaters within your heart will not remain forever. And when you begin to see those signs, learn to receive them with gratitude instead of suspicion. I know you have been disappointed so deeply that you have become afraid of hope. You are afraid that if you are happy, that joy will be taken away. You are afraid that if you believe, you will be wounded again. But, my dear child, do not let what once hurt you steal your ability to recognize the goodness that is coming. There are people who have lived in darkness for so long that when light appears, they turn away because it feels too bright. But the light does not come to hurt you. The light comes so you no longer have to walk through the night. Learn to trust little by little. Learn to rejoice over small things. Learn to say, "Thank you, Lord, that today I can still breathe, still love, and still begin again." Gratitude does not deny hardship, but it helps you not be swallowed by hardship. When you are grateful, you open the door for joy to enter. When you are grateful, the room of your soul becomes less crowded with complaint. When you are grateful, you realize that I have been there far more than you once thought. Perhaps in the days ahead, there will still be moments when the wind grows strong. Perhaps there will be moments when you doubt even this promise. Perhaps one evening, you will look around and ask yourself, where is the new home? Why am I still standing in the middle of unfinished things? In such moments, remember that a home is not built in a single day. There are bricks I lay down through waiting, walls I raise through tears, and doors I open through the very moments when you thought you had lost everything. Do not judge my work while it is still unfinished. A person who looks only at the scaffolding will not see the house that is being formed. But I see the entire design. I know which room needs to be widened, which door needs to be closed, and which foundation needs to be strengthened. And when you grow weary, do not run away from the work simply because you have not yet seen the result. Remain in my hands. Perhaps today you only need to do one very small thing. Make your bed again. Call a loved one. Read a few lines of my word. Apologize to someone. Or forgive yourself. Do not consider what is small to be meaningless. A strong home is built from countless small things done with love. Therefore, my beloved child, do not fear tomorrow. I am not saying that tomorrow will have no trials. I am saying that you will not have to walk through them alone. I do not promise that every door will open according to your will. I promise that the door truly meant for you cannot be taken away by human hands. I do not promise that you will never cry. I promise that every tear of yours is seen by me. I do not promise that you will never lose your way. I promise that if you call upon me, I will lead you back. The new home I give you may begin in a very deep place, where you stop running from yourself. Stop living merely to be recognized by others, and stop locking your soul inside old boxes. When you step into truth, forgiveness, gratitude, and faith, you will realize that I have prepared a place for you long ago. Not a temporary place, not a small corner where you must ask permission to exist, but a home filled with light, with a table, with arms waiting to welcome you, with my voice calling you by a love that never changes. And when tomorrow comes, whether you are still in the old room or have already stepped through a new door, remember this: you are no longer homeless in your soul. You have a home. You have a father. You have a place to return to.